We're good.
Is that it? Is it the red button?
We are live.
That is the red button. That's the thing. All right, well, we're 3 seconds in and I haven't fucked this up yet. Going all right. I'm doing okay.
There's no one watching us but us, so.
Oh, well, that's fun. We'll find a way to edit
but
this.
I will tell you that the ad just kicked on, and so shortly people should be able to come in if they're coming in. Oh, somebody's watching.
I think that's me.
It probably is. 2 watching.
Boosh.
All right, it's all you, man.
All right. Welcome everybody to RTP Live. Is it Riding the Pine Live or RTP Live or RTPLV? What do we call this? What does everybody call it? Is it Riding the Pine Live, RTP Live?
I call it RTP Live. I title it RTP Live every time I do it.
RTP Live number this one. Number
9. Number 9.
I like number this one more because
number this one.
Because no matter which one it is, if you just call it number this one, you're always going to be right.
Clever.
So that's the way we're going to do it. Everybody, welcome. This is Lou. I am taking the reign of the ship, the ship's reins, whatever that expression is. And I've got John and Dom with me today. And say hi, guys.
Hello. RTP King Lou, Electric Boogaloo. Let's do this.
So let me ask, the name of this episode you've called RTP, you called it King Lou Part 2. What is with the King Lou? I don't get the, like, do you guys have this idea that I've secretly been building for the last 6 months, a intricate network of money laundering affiliates that are all eventually linked to ISIS that I'm going to implicate Jake in so that he will eventually be the one who takes the fall for all of my criminal practices, and then I can take over the show and I can direct it as I see fit?
No, Lou.
Why do you guys think
specific? But no, I didn't initially think.
Yeah,
that.
why do you guys have such a strangely specific thing that I'm doing to get Jake kicked off the show? Why do y'all think that?
On your first episode of Riding the Pine Live, you wore a Burger King crown.
Oh. Oh, okay. I thought I was this egomaniacal, like, control freak is what you thought. Oh.
It was relatively innocent until you had such a complex plan laid out.
That was y'all's plan. That was y'all's plan that I was just quoting, that I assume that y'all think that I'm going to eventually do. I'm not working with ISIS, Jake. It's I'm not a monster. I work with Al Qaeda.
No,
anyways,
Julian.
Anyways, today we have a lot of sports news that happened. We don't have anything wacky and crazy we're gonna eat today.
I apologize. That's partially my fault, and it's just a 1-week hiatus usually.
Yeah, guys, we'll be back to punishing ourselves next week. Don't worry.
I think next week we're gonna try to do the Whopperito, so stay tuned.
I think the Whopperito. I actually am filming a John Woo style trailer for Lou versus Whopperito. I'm working on right now. I've storyboarded it out. It's like 9 seconds. It is just one frame in a storyboard. But no, there's 2. There's a graphic. But this show came about kind of hastily. I know it is at our normal time, but I was without a phone this weekend. I learned a valuable lesson. Transformers, and not Optimus Prime Transformers, like the kind outside your house, don't touch them, plus a cell phone equals a dead cell phone. Do not rest your cell phone on a Transformer. It will destroy it. And that's what I did. But we don't have anything goofy to eat, but we do have a whole bunch of goofy shit related to NFL preseason. I have never been this geeked up about news surrounding the NFL preseason before. We got a couple of different things. We got Joey Bosa stuff that finally went down today. We've got Colin Kaepernick hates America stuff. We've got Tony Romo hates himself stuff, and we'll get into Dak Prescott a little bit. Where do you guys want to jump into first? Is Joey Bosa the place to start, considering it just happened?
Yeah, so. And it was also the topic of the latest RTP overtime that Jake and I did as a replacement for this weekend's show. So I think it is definitely a good place to start. And I will continue my mantra that Jake was able to talk me into of "fuck you, San Diego Chargers." Thank you for paying Joey Bosa. God damn it! Now go play football.
So let's give a quick recap for everybody. And you said RTP overtime. See, I'm either Riding the Pine overtime or I'm RTP OT. Those two both flow really well. RTP overtime doesn't flow well to me.
when I name the episodes, it's always RTPOT. Don't worry.
Okay, RTPOT. That's what flows to me. Or Riding the Pine Overtime. Both of those flow well. So, guys, Joey Bosa did sign his contract today. He is officially a member of the San Diego Chargers. His holdout has officially ended. He was on pace to be the longest holdout since Michael Crabtree a number of years ago held out for until I think about October. Is when he held out for. But Joey Bosa, now the third overall pick, has been signed by the San Diego Chargers. They were able to come to an agreement. Joey Bosa signed a deal. Excuse me. It was a 4-year contract worth approximately $25.7 million, all of which is guaranteed. $17 million of that will come in the form of a signing bonus that he's going to get up front. Guys, how do you feel about Joey Bosa signing, without going into whether you were Team Bosa or Team Chargers or Team Labor or Team Union or whichever team you were on, how do you feel about this deal getting done, and what are your expectations for Joey Bosa moving forward? Go ahead, Dom.
My expectations for Joey Bosa are admittedly not optimistic. I think I was, watching some of his highlights in college, and he is a supremely talented player. No doubt about that. But there's a difference between being a college player and being an NFL player. And obviously people can make the transition, but you do need a transition period, which he has not had. I think he's missing out on classroom time, instruction by more experienced players. Just an endless amount of things that just aren't going his way. And I honestly think that even if we can get into the morality of it, but I think he made a mistake for his development as an athlete for holding out this long.
Right. I certainly agree. That was kind of my position, Dom. My position from the beginning with the Joey Bosa thing was, and I think maybe people on Twitter may have. Twitter's a terrible medium for truly getting ideas across, but I think people may have misconstrued or misunderstood my opinion slightly. I never looked at it as Team Bosa or Team Chargers. I never looked at it that way. I was always. I am team. I want to see the best possible football product on the field, and I feel that the best way to do that is to get Joey Bosa on the field. That being said, I thought he went about this absolutely the wrong way. I did not think that his holdout was the right thing for him. I didn't think it was the right thing for the Chargers. I think both sides made some big mistakes. John, you and Jake talked about when the Chargers came out this past Friday and they announced, hey, we are taking our deal off the table. We have to completely restructuring it. And they revealed to the public what they had offered to Joey Bosa. That was really unprecedented. How did that sit with you? How did you feel about that deal? About them coming out and showing that to everyone?
So first, I'll remind everybody you can get a whole lot more information on how Jake and I felt about it from the latest RTPOT that went up yesterday. But I will say, when it first came out, I didn't feel good about it because it seemed to me like the Chargers were putting themselves into a mode where they were going to let the court of public opinion burn Joey Bosa, and thankfully it backfired on him.
Right. I think what they were going for there is they wanted to say, shit, we've got to go nuclear. We've got to go DEFCON 4. Is that the highest DEFCON? I don't know the DEFCONs.
The lower the number, the worse the condition.
Oh, really? Okay, so
yes.
we need to go. Okay, I didn't know that. We need to go DEFCON 1. We're going to make him cave to our demands by making everybody think that he's a piece of shit. Personally, to me, it's always been so hard for me to agree with ownership and management in the NFL as opposed to the players. So I felt skeevy about that. The thing that I wasn't happy about from the beginning with Joey Bosa was that he was missing, like Dom said, he was missing so much development time. That time that you get as a rookie, your first time in training camp, your first time going through two-a-days and going through the OTAs and sitting in the classroom and learning from the best coaches on the planet, the most intelligent football minds on the planet, unless you play in San Diego, that time is so valuable, and for you to lose that, I thought Bosa was doing such, not a detriment even to his teammates. Forget about that. He was doing a detriment to his own career, doing a detriment to himself at that point, right?
Certainly. I think he was really doing himself a disservice if he wants to get more prospects for possibly being traded in the future, or ending up where he wants to be as an athlete, where he becomes a valuable piece of athletic property, basically. So he's kind of screwing himself out of future holdings in that regard. But also, the thing the thing is, I I don't quite understand why he chose to take the stand in this way here and now. I just don't understand the thinking behind it and why this agent chose for this scenario specifically to play out. It
So
worked out.
I'll tell you, from my perspective, every once in a while, you got a guy that has to take a stand, right? And we've seen this happen with San Diego before. I mean, Eli wouldn't go play for them. And here's the deal. I would feel less bad for Joey Bosa if I didn't eventually find out in the discussions that other rookies are getting other rookies in similar positions of being picked are getting the same deal he's asking for, and they're denying it. And you know, a line that I used in the show last night was, oh, I lost my train of thought. That really sucks.
Well, where
Oh.
you were going, John? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, every once in a while a guy has to take a stand. This should be a rounding error for the San Diego Chargers. That's money that they're never going to see, and it's money that they're going to give to him anyway. And so I'm very much for, when the San Diego Chargers are in the position of power that they are, that we go ahead and say, you know what, F you, here's your money, now go prove to us that you can get it. You proved you could do it in college. That gets you your rookie deal. Being picked third gets you the money that you expect. Here's how we're structuring it. It looks exactly like the rest of the league, which right now, before they signed it, it didn't, and that bothers me. It looks exactly like the rest of the league, and the guy goes out there, and you ask the question, do you think he's ready? Here's my point on that. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter if he's ready. He's being paid to play 16 games. So now San Diego has the position of power back, and they can say, you got your fucking money. Now go play football. By the way, you're this season will decide how your rookie contract gets pushed forward, whether or not they go for a fifth-year option, whether or not you get franchise tagged, or whether or not another team never signs you again because you're a pain in the ass. So
I guarantee you he will be franchise tagged for this. Assuming, let me put it this way, if he's going to hit free agency here in 4 years, and he's going to be or in 5 years, I guess, if he's going to be one of the hottest free agents out there, say he goes out there and his career follows J.J. Watt's trajectory and he's the hottest thing in football, I guarantee you these motherfuckers, and they know that they're not going to get him back because they're just winning 5 or 6 games a year, and they know he's going to go to a contender or he's going to go somewhere else. I guarantee you they will franchise him just to twist that knife a little bit and just to say, fuck you, man.
Because it'll be one more time that they can jab at him. It's an interesting thing because it really does. It's sort of, you know, the CBA is fairly straightforward, right? But it gives teams latitude in this position. And it's been interesting to me to watch how the labor dispute worked its way out. Even though it's an individual player, I think it was super interesting. And Julian, yes, I do have the best shirt. I agree.
Rebel scum. Rebel scum. Now, Dom, you touched on there, and we kind of touched on it there for a second, but Dom, you touched on something that I really liked there. You said this is going to impact him moving forward. Let me ask you this. So, here in 5 or 6 years, the guy is a quality player. He's going to be able to go out there in free agency. He's going to be able to go out and get paid on a second deal. Do teams care about this in a few years and say, well, he held those guys up for money or he held those guys up for terms, we're not really interested in dealing with him? Is this something that impacts him here in 5 or 6 years, or is it going to be a deal like Tyrann Mathieu, who for the Cardinals is now the highest paid safety in football, coming out of LSU? He got kicked out of LSU. He didn't come out of LSU. He gets kicked out of LSU, had apparently attitude and drug problems, came into the NFL, worked his ass off, now he's the highest paid safety in the league. Do you think it's going to be something like that, or because it happened in the NFL, do you think teams will hold it against him more? Or do you think, hey, it doesn't matter. If you can produce, you can produce. Fuck it. Go for it.
Well, I think NFL teams are like the mafia. They don't forget, and they certainly don't forgive. So it's this interesting thing where I think they're going to hang him out to dry, honestly, because I think Rock Soldier here in the comments made a good point. sometimes teams, sometimes players have to take a stand, right? And sometimes teams like to leave a player out to hang in the sun, just to make an example. It's this interesting thing where, players are made examples out of one another. I can easily see Joey Bosa getting the short stick, even if, regardless if he's right or wrong, I'm not debating that, getting the short stick and getting, the cold shoulder by other teams in the future, just because his attitude, and personality happened to make this situation a thing for the NFL.
John, what do you think?
Um, I think that Rock Soldier's exactly right. This was a power play on the part of the San Diego Chargers, and I think what'll end up happening is, like I said, they've put Joey Bosa, or they've put the Chargers have put themselves back in the position of power. If he gets to the end of this rookie contract and he is considered a top 5 free agent, then I don't think teams will let San Diego snipe him one last time. If he's a free agent and he's as good as he seems to think he is, then he'll be worth the money coming out. And we'll just see what happens.
Now, here's what was interesting about him going, and we don't know exactly, not all the details have come out, but we do know, like I said earlier, we know that his deal is completely guaranteed. $25.8 million. He's walking away with $17 million guaranteed. A lot of people made a big deal about that, but what a lot of people don't realize is top 5 picks today, a lot of them are fully guaranteed. They're these smaller deals. Here's something interesting that I came up with today, and a lot of people were saying Joey Bosa either has the best or the worst agent of all time. I don't know about the best, but I can tell you who has the worst agent in football. Let's take a look at this. Ezekiel Elliott, number 4 pick to the Cowboys. He also was fully guaranteed. I think his deal, what is it? Is it $23.7 million, totally guaranteed. Has like a $15 million signing bonus, but all that does is mean upfront money. You're getting all 4 years of the contract. Doesn't matter. Carson Wentz, number 2 overall pick, signed with Philadelphia. He's walking away with $26.7 million and a $17.6 million signing bonus. So there you go, and that's 100% guaranteed. Now let's go to Jared Goff out of Cal, number 1 pick for the LA Rams. Jared Goff, he's walking away with the biggest contract. He's walking away with $28.6 million, but only $18 million. Only. I know. Only.
We gotta put that in air quotes every time, don't we?
Yeah.
Only $18 million of it is guaranteed. How the fuck did this happen? Jared Goff, after you've seen this, how is your agent not fired yet? His agent, I'm convinced his agent has to be like a mom or a dad. It's got to be like what happened with Andre Johnson, how Andre Johnson's like uncle, who had never represented a sports player ever, was representing him. Does Jared Goff have the worst agent in football? I mean, he's got to be, right?
No, I think a lot of people would have tried to argue that Joey Bosa had the worst agent in football, but clearly he knew what he was fighting, and I think it was the right thing to fight.
Things turned out all right for Bosa for now. We have no idea if teams are going to hang him out to dry in the future.
I realize it's he's sort of he's only one guy, and there's only so much he can do, but hopefully they can rebuild some of their other problems, because even with this, I don't think they can win more than 7 games.
Yeah, exactly. That's something else to touch on. I think people were making a big, not a bigger deal out of this than they should, but Joey Bosa is not going to make this team a playoff team. Okay, I don't think that Peyton Manning coming out of retirement makes this team a playoff team. This is a dog shit organization we're dealing with right now. This is a building project. This is something for years down the line. Well, let me touch, before we get off of the Bosa talk, let me ask you guys. He tells ESPN.com earlier today, I'm ready to play. I can go week 1. I'm ready to go. Does he, I don't know if deserve is the right word, but should he, if he is the best player and he's in the best position to represent the team and to play for the team and make plays for him, should he play in week 1? If you're the head coach of the San Diego Chargers and he's your best option, but he held out this long, does he play week 1?
He should. Go ahead, Dom.
I think if he performs, this is a big if, because as I said, training time is tremendously important for rookies. But if he does perform, then he deserves a spot. the deal room is a place for making examples of people, not on the field where you're trying to deliver them the best possible product of football.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. If this was a high school team, if this was a college team or something like that, and a player refused to practice but then wanted to show up for the game, no, I totally get it. If this was amateur somehow, but when it's professional, you put feelings aside. Everyone in that organization is trying to justify their job and trying to justify their paycheck and keep a roof over their head. You put the guy out there who's going, or gal, we're a very progressive show here at RTP. You put the guy or gal out there, in the case of someone like Tom Brady, who is going to put you in the best position to win. So I agree. I don't think that they hold him to this. Really, the Chargers were in such a shit position here because they were in a situation where if they let him go back into the draft, their number 3 overall pick, they might get a compensatory pick for that, but their number 3 overall pick, their highest draft pick they've had in years, is nothing. It's just gone. It goes away. They have nothing to show for it. They don't we lost our number 3 pick. We get Tom Brady for 8 weeks. There's nothing. There's no benefit they would have gotten from this. I really think that the Chargers were in a lose-lose situation. Quite frankly, I think both guys were in a lose-lose situation because Bosa goes back into the draft. You're not the number 3 pick next year. Myles Garrett is coming out of Texas A&M, like J.J. Watt 2.0. He's coming out of Texas A&M. He's going to be the number 1 overall drafted defensive end, not you, Bosa. Bosa doesn't hit the top 15.
My final statement on Bosa is this. He said he was ready for week 1. He better be out on the field in week 1, and he better not miss a fucking tackle.
Oh, he better not miss an assignment all day. Absolutely. Or those fans are going... And that being said, well, here, I will ask one last question. I know I said that was my last one. I'll ask this real quick. Just justify it in one sentence. We all thought the Chargers looked like shit in this situation. If Joey Bosa is doing this instead with a well-respected, well-run, well-oiled machine of an organization, a Patriots, a Packers, a Steelers, etc., if he does this with one of those well-respected, well-held franchises by the fan bases, do more people side with the team than side with him if he does this at another organization that isn't known for its shittiness?
I think Joe Football Fan would eat the player alive if it was a more respectable organization, just because they tend to be, quite rabid. And I think we actually got a rare example of restraint from the football, fan community, just because the Chargers are such a middling organization right now, and not even middling; they're definitely lower tier. So I think that Joey Bosa kind of was in the best decision to make this stand if it was just about making a stand with the team he got drafted by.
No other team would have put up with this because no other team would have done it.
Okay, that's fair. Well, guys, moving away from shit going on off the field in preseason football, let's actually go and talk about something happening on the field. And Dom, I hope you're not only flexing. I hope you're flexing your take muscles right now because I'm going to need you to fire some hot takes at us. We're going to be talking about your Dallas Cowboys. This past week, Tony Romo injured broken bone in his back. We do not know. There's a bunch of different numbers floating around about when he's going to be back on the field. Some people are saying he'll be back by week 8. Some people are saying he'll be back by week 10. Others are saying it's a week 12 thing. Some people are saying it's just time to go ahead and put this guy on IR. There's other people who are saying it's time to go ahead and cut bait with this guy, figure out what you're going to do later, and ride that Dak Prescott train. Dom, your Dallas Cowboys, week 1, at least probably week 10, are going to be starting Dak Prescott, rookie out of Mississippi State. Just pure emotion. When you hear those words, what's your first thought? Just go.
A roller coaster of emotions, actually. First, oh God, and then maybe this isn't such a good idea. Basically, I was up through the progression of Dak. What a name.
Well, his real name, Dak comes from Dakota, so that's short for Dakota.
That's still the name of a lower tier stripper, and I was not initially impressed.
Or my son's middle name, either one.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like peppermint candy, those are like no Dakota. That's what you name like a blue heeler. That's what you name a ranch dog. Anyways, I'm sorry, Dom.
Or my son's middle name.
Go ahead, Dom.
Anyhow, sorry. Kind of got derailed for a second there, but anyhow, I was initially completely unimpressed with Dak Prescott.
Wow.
I 137th overall pick, and then I started to look into it, and I got more optimistic because I realized that he was low ranked largely because he, Mississippi doesn't really play conventional NFL offense, and he was actually a great rushing quarterback back at Mississippi. I was watching some highlight reels of him.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, Mississippi State. Was watching some highlight reels of him, and he could get down the field. He was very good. He had like 60 thrown and 40 rushing touchdowns in his entire college career, which is respectable, certainly.
Yeah. I watched a lot of Dak Prescott, being a longtime SEC guy, being an A&M grad. We're lifelong SEC people. We've been so ingrained in it. No, I watched a lot of Dak Prescott in college, and to give you an idea, for everyone out there who's not familiar with Dak Prescott, shame on you. Why are you watching anything but SEC college football? There's Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12. Get out of here.
Good
It's
thing
SEC.
Jake's not here.
Just watch it. Dak Prescott was very much, and Dom was right. He had wheels, but imagine Tim Tebow meets Ben Roethlisberger. He's a big guy. He's a real big, well, not gigantic. He's 6'2", but he's not like a Johnny Manziel or Michael Vick. He's not a guy who's going to dodge 5 tackles. He's a guy who's going to see the safety coming and put his shoulder down and barrel over him. He's not the guy who's gonna make something crazy happen behind the line. We haven't seen him. Excuse me. Go crazy yet in the NFL with a whole bunch of rushes. His stat line so far through the preseason. He's averaging 7.6 yards a rush. He's not ripping off 25, 30 yards at a time, but he sees an opening and there's no one downfield. He's going to take 7 yards to get that first down. Dom, how do you as a Dallas fan? Obviously, the emotions with Tony Romo have been so mixed for so long. Do you see this as an upgrade? Do you see this as I didn't think we were going to win? Well, let me ask you this. When Tony was there, what were your expectations for the team this year, and how have they now changed?
Well, when Tony Romo was there, and this was making a big assumption on my part, I was assuming that if he is healthy for the entire season, the Cowboys are a playoff team. And I well and truly believed that. When he is not on the ground with a broken whatever, he is one of the top tier quarterbacks in the NFL. He can read the field like up with the best of them, and he's got an accurate enough arm to service his superstar wide receivers. And I thought that he could take this team to a playoffs, but I don't know if that's possible. I don't think that's possible at all from a rookie's perspective, and I think it was kind of a pipe dream of mine to think that Tony Romo was going to be injury-free for the entire season, because he's pushing 37 right now. He's late 36, so he's not a young man anymore, and his injuries have certainly taken a toll on his physique overall.
Agreed. John, how do you interpret this entire thing with Dak Prescott? What's your take on the Cowboys today?
Well, you remember that I projected that this would probably happen by week 3. I just didn't think it would happen in the preseason. The deal is Tony Romo.
Preseason week 3. It did happen preseason week 3.
Hey,
so
there you go.
I'll let you have it.
So really though, what I think is this could be Tony Romo's
death rattle.
Yes.
Are you calling a Tom? I'm not saying he is Tom Brady. I'm saying, are you calling a Tom Brady? Is Dak Prescott the Tom Brady to Tony Romo's Drew Bledsoe?
Bledsoe.
You're calling to me right now.
Beat me to it, Lou. Beat me to it, because that's exactly where I was taking it. I'm concerned that Dak Prescott is Tom Brady to Tony Romo's Drew Bledsoe. I really do. I'm concerned about it. And isn't it a little fitting that Drew Bledsoe was a Cowboys quarterback too? Because Dak Prescott looks so good in the preseason. He really
He
does.
does.
And
To
Tony
give you guys an
Romo
idea,
is a great quarter. Just let me finish my thought. Sorry. Tony Romo's a
I'm
great
sorry.
quarterback. Oh, it's okay. Tony Romo's a great quarterback. Again, a quarterback that I think is probably a lot better than his record says because he's been on some crappy teams and done a lot more with crappy teams than I think people give him credit for. But Dak Prescott looks so good in preseason, and he's so fun to watch. He's dynamic as hell, and it sucks that Romo's as broken as he is, and I hope that he can get fixed because I think he could come back and have a second career for another team. But I'm honestly of the opinion
For another
that this
team. We're
yes,
already calling it.
I am
for
of
another
the
team.
opinion. Here we go. He's probably going to be starting the first 8 games. Dak Prescott will, and I think that if
Guaranteed,
he goes
for sure, without a doubt.
he goes 5-3, he replaces Tony Romo.
We'll get to that in a little bit. Let's put a pin in that talk right there for a second.
All right. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm excited about this.
Give everybody an idea what Dak Prescott has looked like so far this season.
He's
39 for 50 on passing attempts. So that's a 78-yard passing percentage with 454 yards. Here's the one with 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Only 2 sacks. That's another thing. He's looked really good as far as avoiding pressure. The one area where it isn't great, if you've already done the math on that with his completions and yards, 9.1 yards per completion. That's not great in the NFL. We want to see that a little bit higher, especially, and granted, he's been playing with the second and third string guys. He hasn't had Des Bryant out there. So once he has Des Bryant out there, we can only assume that number goes up, or at least those yards per attempt goes up. Because they haven't really, and that's another thing. It's preseason. They're not really opening up the ball. They're going to want him to get comfortable, want him to get a feel for things, completing high percentage passes. So it's not like they've been airing it out and showing their entire offense the way the Browns have. RG3 to Terrell Pryor has happened every week so far in the preseason. It's crazy. With a QB rating so far of 137. Here and like I said, he's had 7 rushing attempts for 53 yards, so he's averaging over 7.5 yards, with 2 of those being touchdowns. That's where that thing that I said came in, where he's like Tim Tebow. He's not going to run down the field 35 yards, but when you're on the 4-yard line, you can use him as an option. Put him in a shotgun, and you can use him as a QB draw situation. Here's the thing with Dak Prescott that worries me about the Cowboys moving forward so far this year, guys. I think we all agree, and Dom, you can certainly agree on this. The Cowboys, even with Tony Romo, I think it's unfair for anyone to say that, this kid is going to need to win the division, or that this team needed to do this or that. To have any really high expectations of this kid, not to play well, but for this team to play well, we all agreed they were going to be a Pac-12 team. They were going to be an arena football team. They were going to be an SEC East team. What I mean by that is this team was going to give up 26 to 27 points a game. This team was going to have to score on average 30 points a game to win games this year. And to win, let's say, to go 500 this year, this team's going to have to score 27 points a game to go 500. That's hard for an NFL quarterback who's been doing it for 10 years or 13 years like Tom Brady has. Now you're going to ask a rookie who ran in a draw option and a QB draw option offense in college, you're going to ask him to go out there and do that? Guys, he's looked good, but he's thrown 5 touchdowns, not 5 touchdowns a game. That's a little much to ask of this guy coming out so far.
It really is. I mean, in a more experienced quarterback's position, I think he has they have the offensive weapons to put him up, but he's just not experienced. I mean, in the loss to where Romo actually got injured in that loss to the Seahawks, Romo was brought down on a sack, one of 4 sacks that game, and they have the offensive weapons to score points, but they don't have adequate protection, not only for the quarterback, but they don't have the weapons on the defensive end of the team to really to stop points. So I just don't see him as a rookie having the experience, the play knowledge, the wherewithal, basically, to put up that many points, even if he's got a lot of raw talent, which I well and truly believe he does just from watching him.
Yeah, I'll put it this way: if this team somehow does win double-digit games, I mean, and the odds of that are astronomical. If this team wins double-digit games, Dak Prescott for MVP. Dak Prescott for the Hall of Fame already after 1 year, because it will be 100% on his back. Now, here's another thing about the Cowboys. Not only is their quarterback, is their signal caller for at least the first 8 weeks going to be a rookie, starting running back Ezekiel Elliott, who's presumably going to be a 3-down back, is going to be a rookie also. John, can you put 2 rookies back there and expect them to go out there and win games?
Not usually. Not usually. So earlier I said I think if Dak Prescott goes 5-3, he replaces Tony Romo. That's under the assumption that it's probably not going to happen. Now, he looks great in preseason, and I really hope that he does well. But when you've got, Ezekiel Elliott, Dom, you might know, how has his camp looked?
His camp has looked actually decent. He's putting up, he's doing the work, he's paying attention, apparently. You can never, there's so many reports floating out there that you never really know for sure, but apparently he's doing decent. But a good camp for a rookie doesn't mean he comes out there and he starts winning games for you.
No, but at the same time, you find out pretty quickly whether or not he's T-riching the holes that he's trying to run through, right?
Yeah.
Well, and that's especially a rookie in 2016 having a good camp is not a rookie in not to be old man Lou who's going to talk about back in my day we hazed the rookies. Not to go old man Lou here for a second, but compared to what you do in rookie training camp today, and I know we just, I'm kind of backtracking because I kind of, sold it on Bosa and needed to be there. It's not as tough as it was. It's not like it's the Junction Boys back in 1957 where you're out there with no water practicing for 6 straight hours, in full pads. It's not quite the same thing. So I'm going to be a little reserved on Ezekiel Elliott. Another thing that Ezekiel Elliott really had going for him excuse me, and I want to talk about y'all fantasy implications here real quick. One of the reasons that he was skyrocketing to the top of everybody's fantasy list is everybody thought that with Romo back there, and not only that, but the mentality of the Cowboys are going to have to score so many points a game, Romo's going to be balling out of control this year. Ezekiel Elliott's going to have a hell of a time catching balls out of the backfield. He's going to be able to have some wide open running lanes whenever they do a draw play. How does this impact Ezekiel Elliott from a fantasy standpoint? Do y'all think that this actually hurts his draft stock, not having Tony Romo back there with him now, and now that teams are going to have their ears pinned back coming after this rookie quarterback?
Well, I'll tell you what will hurt his draft perspective, something I completely overlooked. Ezekiel being fat, which apparently Ezekiel Elliott showed up to camp being.
Is that because he went into too many pot dispensaries in Denver?
Probably. But I apparently, according to these reports that I have pinned to my desktop, which I completely forgot about, Ezekiel Elliott.
Pinned to his desktop. We got Ian Rappaport on the show tonight, people. He's got it pinned to his desktop.
But yeah, he showed up to Cowboys training camp out of shape, and apparently not looking very good, but apparently since then he's worked hard. But back to your original question, I just wanted to clarify, not leave that open. Absolutely, it hurts not having a veteran quarterback in your calling the, not just in the pocket, but calling the shots. Definitely impacts your ability to put up yardage as a young running back. Absolutely.
I think Tony Romo will do a good job, too, of preparing Dak for his first 8 weeks. He's not going to let that team fall. And he probably thinks at this point, hey, this is still my team to lose. But if Dak Prescott comes out and goes 5-3, I think he's got to be concerned.
So we talked about Ezekiel Elliott's draft in our fantasy, in his fantasy draft implications.
I think it lowers. I think he drops.
Dak Prescott today. Is Dak Prescott somebody who's on your radar now, or is this going to be one of those RG3, one of those Blaine Gabbert, one of those Teddy Bridgewater guys who's going to be at the very bottom, one of those very bottom of the barrel guys, and you realize, shit, I went all running back. I picked my tight end in the 4th round and didn't get a second quarterback. I guess I've got to go ahead and pick up Dak Prescott. Where do you see this guy? Do you have expectations for him moving into the fantasy season, or do you think it's just going to be, man, he's a rookie, don't touch him, stay away?
So our league is a little unique because we start 2 quarterbacks. Yeah. So I think Dak Prescott is a viable QB3.
I'd put him on the bench.
That's exactly what I mean by that.
Yeah, yeah,
I would be okay with drafting him to cover maybe like early bye weeks, as
yeah.
a possibility of a guy to use. But I don't think. I mean, first of all, it's unlikely he'll play the whole season unless it's unlikely he'll play the whole season. So I wouldn't draft him, early.
Well, it
But
depends on how severe Tony Romo's injury is, because we know he's fractured a bone in his back. We don't know if it's what to the extent it is, and that dramatically impacts his recovery time. I think people are even the 10, 12 weekers are being pretty optimistic with his recovery period, especially after repeated injury.
yeah, which also, by the way, means that Tony Romo will probably start asking to be put back in around week 6, because that's usually how he goes. I'm ready, crack, and then he's out the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know all too well about that.
It's funny with Dak. I think Dak Prescott's going to be in a position this year where he's not going to be very bottom of the barrel because he's an unknown quantity and people are going to take a flyer on him. People are going to take a risk on him. But like I said, with a rookie running back there, an offensive line that has really underperformed, as Dom put it earlier. Granted, you've got a couple of guys who haven't played. It's your second and third string lines. I think Dak Prescott's going to be a guy that somebody takes a waiver on if they're in a 2-quarterback league like we are, and they feel real confident in their. If they're towards the front of the round, they already have their kicker, they already have their tight end, they've already got their wide receivers and their flex guys filled out. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to see somebody take a flyer on him there, but in a single quarterback league, Dak Prescott doesn't get drafted. There's no way he gets drafted in a 10-person single quarterbabe league. It's an unknown quantity. Now here's the question that I have for you guys. Here's another question that I have. One of the things that I have a bunch of customers in my job who are in Dallas, and pretty much all I did today was I worked very hard, boss, and I worked very hard. And while I was working very hard, I was talking to all of our customers in Dallas about how they feel about the Tony Romo, Dak Prescott situation. And one of the guys said, and he said something that I hadn't thought of. He said to me, I really hope they don't do what they did with Brandon Weeden and what they did with Kyle Orton last year. When Tony Romo went out, they brought in Weeden, they brought in Orton. Who else did they have? They had somebody else who started a game for them. Maybe it was Drew Bledsoe. I don't know. They had these guys come in. They ended up cutting Brandon Weeden because he ended up starting a game for the Texans eventually, like in week 14 or 15 or something after Brian Hoyer got a concussion.
Yeah, and then he got benched for showing up for practice late.
Yeah. He said, I hope what doesn't happen, one of my customers said, I hope what doesn't happen is you don't run into a situation where they're going to restrict the playbook to a point where they're going to handicap these guys like they did with Orton and with Prescott. Dom, do you think that they're going to be afraid to open the playbook up? Do you think that they're going to say, well, clearly Dak Prescott, based on what we've seen so far, is a higher caliber talent than these guys? Or do you think it's going to be, and also he's been with the team longer. That's the other thing. Kyle Orton and Brandon Weeden just got kind of thrown into the situation. Or do you think it's going to be a situation where they're going to open it up and they're going to let him play? Or do you think they're really going to handicap him and try and just make him game manage until Tony Romo comes back? What do you think, Dom?
I'd certainly hope they'd learn from their mistakes for two reasons. One, the Dallas Cowboys are a goddamn football organization in Texas, and they should know better. And two, no, Dak Prescott is the first rookie quarterback to put up preseason numbers like this in over a decade. So I think they'd be completely remiss to treat him as some sort of tumor, basically. So, just trying to control him as much as possible. I think that would be a huge mistake on their part, and based on those two things, I'd hope they'd learn from their initial mistake.
So Rock Soldier just posted in the thing that Matt Castle was the quarterback you might have been thinking of, Lou.
Matt Castle, that's who it was. Yes, thank you, Matt Castle.
I think that they will hamstring him for the first week or two, because they'll kind of give him probably half the playbook, start to work things in, give him the first 2 weeks, because what.
Well, think about it. Things start off pretty important for them those first 2 weeks. They're playing the Giants and the Redskins, the Giants at home, and then the Redskins on the road. They're playing two division rivals those first 2 weeks, so you can't really get off to losses right away. You need to you need to make a statement in your own division those first 2 weeks.
Agreed. And the Giants, I don't think, are going to pose much of a problem for Dallas. They just don't look like they're going to be a good team this year at all. Now, Washington DC or Washington Redskins, I think, are going to be a big test real early for Dak Prescott, which is why I think they'll hamstring him early and kind of help him try to give him a booster in practice to get him ready for week 2, because I think Washington is going to be a big game. Kirk Cousins is going to come out ready to draw blood in the NFC East, and we haven't talked about the East yet on the show. I think that comes up for our next main show, right?
Yeah, we were saving the East for the episode where we all show up drunk on the show and don't really give a shit about it because it doesn't matter and it's irrelevant. I don't know what they do. If Jason, let me put it this way: if Tony Romo had been healthy last year and the Cowboys performed the way they did, which I don't think they would have if they would have had a Tony Romo all year, but if Tony Romo would have been there and Jason Garrett would have performed as poorly as he did, then I think he would be on the hot seat. Well, not unfortunately. Fortunately for him, I think he really got a pass from Jerry Jones. He really got a pass from Cowboys fans last year because they just, they had Romo break his collarbone against the Eagles, and then he comes back on Thanksgiving, maybe a little rushed. That's what Dom alluded to earlier. Came back and he rushed back on Thanksgiving Day 2 weeks before we thought he was going to, and ends up aggravating his collarbone again against the Panthers, and their season was a complete dud. I think everybody kind of gave them a pass. Dom, do you think they give this guy a pass 2 years in a row now that if Romo's not here, or do you think that there's going to be heat on him? Because personally, I think if there was heat on him and if Romo had played so poorly, I think he says, hey, look, I'm trying to save my job. We're going to give Dak Prescott every opportunity to win. But I think maybe he's saying, you know what, Jerry Jones trusts me, he likes me, and I've been dealt a bad hand 2 years in a row. I'm just going to play it safe and let this guy be a game manager. What do you think?
Well, I think a Delta bad hand is not exactly an accurate description because apparently Tony Romo's bones are made of fucking glass. So I'd call it more
balsa wood is actually what Ian Rappaport just posted on Twitter. Balsa wood.
So I think we'd call it more of an inevitability than a bad hand. But I don't see him as in much of a hot seat. I've got some friends down in Dallas, and from what I hear, and I know you have them. I don't really talk to him much anymore, but you have a much more direct contact. I honestly don't see a lot of animosity towards Romo, even after the collarbone break. Just going on social media, I think people are still on his side. Mostly, they're a little bit sick of the fact that he just keeps getting fucking hurt.
And that's part of it. Well, let me ask you guys this. Let's wrap up Dak Prescott talk with this. And John, you've already alluded to it a little bit. What would you have to see? You know what? Let's say this. Let's say hypothetical. Let's say the Cowboys learned their lesson from last year, and let's say Tony Romo is actually going to be back in 12 games. And one of two things has happened. Either A, the Cowboys have played miserably, they've been knocked out of the playoffs, it's statistically impossible for them to get there, and they say to Tony, you know what, Tony? Go ahead and take off the rest of the next 4 weeks, let's get this kid some more playing time, we're not going to make the playoffs anyways, rest up, we'll see you in training camp in July. Or they're in a situation where, hey, things are going good with this kid, Tony, sorry, we're gonna play the hot hand and we're gonna keep it going. Whatever. For whatever reason, Tony Romo does not, or maybe there's complications with the surgery, whatever. Tony Romo does not play at all in 2016-2017 regular season. What kind of result? And I want to ask John first, and then I'll give my take, and I want to get Dom last because I want him to get the last take on the Cowboys. What result would you need to see, or maybe not even a number, maybe not even a number of wins, but something? What would you need to see if you were a Cowboys fan or if you were Cowboys management to say, you know what, Tony, sorry, we're sticking with this kid? To have the Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady situation that you talked about earlier, or Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith to be a more recent example. What do you need to see out of a Dak Prescott-led Cowboys team for that to happen? Go ahead, John.
5-3 through the first 8 weeks and a playoff spot.
Okay, so assuming he's gone for the entire year, all you need to see is a wild card victory, which, let's be real, the NFC East is not going to have a wild card team. They're going to have to win the division.
Right.
You're saying winning the division is what gets them there.
Yes.
I really think there's still a lot of people putting their cards on Romo, despite the fact that he's old and injury prone, and just those two things basically.
Well,
uh, but
well, let me let
I
me let me let me come back in there before we hop on that, Dom, because I do want to get your take last, because I do want to say back to John. You know, John, I don't know if to me, I'm not trying to well actually hear you though, but for me, Dak Prescott would have to win double digit games for me to say, okay, you clearly are the superior option over Tony Romo.
I think
Um,
with Washington in the division, it's going to take double-digit games. I think Washington will win 10 games this year.
I think I've got Washington winning 9 games. That being said, I'm not predicting that this will happen. I'm not. This could, if there was a division in football where the winner was going to be like what we had in the NFC West back in 2000, I think it was 2009 or 2010, when the Seahawks in the NFC West got there with 7 games. That was the year when Beast Mode was invented, when Marshawn Lynch had that incredible run against the Saints. Uh, if you're going to have a division that has a 7 win division winner, a 7 game division winner, it's going to be the NFC East. So for me, if he just limps into the playoffs with 7 wins and wins the division, for me that's not enough.
I'll
That
agree with
that,
you.
that
I'll
doesn't
agree.
do it for me.
If that
I think
happens, I'll agree with you there.
he's got to win double digit games for me. And that being said, if they do win double digit games, it's going to be completely on his back, because that defense ain't fucking doing it. That defense is not, because if they win double digit games, that means that Dak Prescott went out there and threw 4 touchdowns a game. That means they went out there and they scored 35, 38 points a game if they're going to win 10 games, even in a piss poor division like the NFC East. So for me, yeah, it would have to be 10 games. He would have to be phenomenal. Um, I just don't see a situation that plays out where Dak Prescott is going to be able to take this job away from Tony Romo. But Dom, I want you to answer that question. I want you to give your perspective, and then I want you to give your perspective on where do you see the Cowboys 3 years from now? Is Tony Romo walking out the door and Aaron Rodgers, a la Brett Favre, Dak Prescott is taking over if that happens, or what? Floor is yours, Dom. Go ahead.
All
Cowboys.
right, well, I'm going to answer your first question first, and we're talking a lot in hypotheticals here because
We are.
we're assuming Romo comes back, is able to come back at all, and we're extrapolating a lot from a preseason performance, which I don't like to do with a rookie, even one that's putting up these numbers. But I don't see a situation, because I think Dallas Cowboys fans and the administration, Jerry Jones was even in denial that Romo couldn't play after the back injury. He came out in the press conference. He's like, "Oh, we're looking at our options. You don't know. It's too early to say anything yet." It's like the man's spine is broken. He's not going to play. But so I think the administration still likes him. The fans still like him. So I don't see him coming, Romo in the hot seat even until double-digit game wins, which is a pipe dream at this point. Dak Prescott would have to step up his performance way more than he did even in the preseason against much more ferocious competition with a defense that just cannot stop anything for the life of it. So I think he's in a very tough situation. I don't see a realistic, likely scenario where he knocks Tony Romo off the pedestal. However, in 3 years, I think Tony Romo is going to be out of the league with a career-ending injury. I just don't see, with the trend of how frequently he's injured and how severe these injuries are, I don't see any other outcome.
Now, Tony is a free agent in the year 2020, so he's got 4 years, including this season, left on his deal. Do you see, well, let me ask that, quite frankly. Do you see him making it to the end of that? And if he does walk away, do you think that's a Cowboys and doctors saying you can't play anymore? Or do you think that's him saying, you know what, I can't do this, I'm in constant pain all the time? How in your opinion, watching Tony Romo the last 5 years, is he intelligent enough to walk away when he should?
Well, I think Tony Romo's a smart guy, honestly. I've seen him at press conferences, and he really can read the field. He's he's done a lot with some pretty horrible teams. Uh, so I don't think he gets enough credit on the intelligence front. I think if he keeps up this trend and keeps getting injured every 1 or 2 years, I think he's walking away on his own. Now that's the realistic scenario. Let's say he comes back and he's healthy. Well, I think he's still got a pretty good run left in him. Obviously, he's a little too old. He's missed his heyday where on a good team he could have won a Super Bowl, but I think he's still good enough for the next 4 years, provided he does not get injured, which is highly unlikely, that he could keep playing for that time.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that shakes out with Tony Romo, and we'll see if he's able to stand up at the end of this thing. Speaking of standing up, someone who's not standing up for the national anthem lately, man, Jake makes it sound like these segues are such a big deal. That just came so naturally. That's nothing. I didn't take any effort at all. I just fell into that. Was Colin Kaepernick taking a stand? He is a Black Lives Matter. So I believe. Let me make sure I get this right. This is a Black Lives Matter, or at least a Black Lives Matter related, or at least the message behind it about police discrimination and violence against people of color in the United States, has taken a stance that he will not stand during the national anthem. For those of you who don't know, John is a veteran. He served the Air Force. He is a war hero.
No.
He is a war hero.
He's actually the guy who dropped the atom bomb on Hiroshima.
He has told me many a times while trying to pick up chicks and that he is a war hero. So I took him at his word. I took him at his word that he was a war hero.
I never said any such thing. I will not even let that run as a joke. I have
but John, obviously Dom and I have our opinions, but quite frankly, in my opinion, our opinions are less valid or maybe carry a little less weight than yours does. John, Kaepernick saying he's not going to stand for the national anthem. How do you feel about this as a serviceman and just as and also just as a football fan? Because I don't think not all of us here are servicemen, but all of us here are football fans. How do you feel about this? What do you take this by?
I have a whole lot.
Well, let's try and get it done in the next 10 minutes. How do you feel on this one?
I have a whole lot of cognitive dissonance on this entire thing, and here's why. The service member in me wants to immediately say, you know what, Colin Kaepernick, go fuck yourself, move to another country. In fact, I tweeted out the other day when Adam Schefter talked about it. I tweeted out and said, well, that's okay. He doesn't have to stand for America's national anthem. But I hear that he could probably go and learn "Oh Canada" fairly quickly, and I'm sure the CFL love him. Peace the fuck out.
Now were you talking about Adam Schefter? Because I want to deport Adam Schefter too. I want Adam Schefter gone too. Okay. Oh no,
you're not a Shefty fan, huh? But here's the other part of that. My service, every service member that I've ever known. When you're serving your country, you're serving it to protect freedom, to protect liberty. You're not serving it because of a flag. You're not serving it because of a government. You're serving it because of an ideal. At least for me, that's been the case. So while it bothers me that he won't stand, and I think the reasoning behind him not standing is flawed. The whole reason that I served was to protect his right to say the thing that pisses me off more so because it is a statement that's offensive to me. I do have several combat friends that saw combat troops, and there's something to be said about the fact that a lot of these guys will look at the American flag and they'll look at it as the cloth that soaked up the blood of the fallen. And what does a service member look as at the blood of the fallen? The people that died before us to protect us and to continue this idea that America is what it is. Now, Colin Kaepernick, he clearly doesn't feel that America is what it is. But what I think he forgot is he's a multimillionaire making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars a year to play a game that he loves. And we have people dying on battlefields to make sure that he can continue to do so. Right? That's the argument everybody's expecting. Oh, you're a service member. That's the only thing you could possibly hold. If I am going to say that my service was to protect freedom, then I have to be okay with the fact that he is not willing to stand as a protest.
I appreciate that, and as always, thank you for your service, John. I take a very similar stance. I see things like burning the flag. and not standing up for the national anthem, which I think not standing up for the national anthem is certainly more passive aggressive than it is, overtly aggressive means of protest or means of expression, as truly a beautiful experiment, if you will, or a beautiful exercise in freedom of speech or in freedom of expression, because you are outwardly you are outwardly showing disdain for, again, it's a piece of cloth, or for a song that represents the ideals of a country that gives you said rights to be able to do that. So it is an interesting experiment in free speech. Me personally, do I like seeing it? No. For example, at Texas, I'm from Texas. We're grown up to appreciate, we're brought up as children to appreciate the military. Texas A&M, a really military-rich institution. The student center, the main quad, if you will, is called the Student Memorial Center, and it is dedicated to every Aggie who has died in combat. When you walk in, you take your hat off. If you don't, someone will take it off your head. And I've taken a hat off of somebody's head who didn't take their hat off. You get asked once, and then somebody will take your hat off for you. That being said, so that just gives you an idea of how I feel about the situation and feel about him. That being said, he's 100% within his rights to do this. Anyone who violently reacts to this, Navarro Bowman came out and said something along the lines of, veiled threats towards him, which, quite frankly, Navarro Bowman tells me to do anything, I'm fucking doing it. There's nothing Navarro Bowman, if I was in a locker room with him and he was ready to beat my ass, there's nothing he couldn't convince me not to do. Or there's nothing that he couldn't convince me to do. That being said, I think it's being blown way out of proportion for it. Again, kind of like on the Bosa situation, how I feel about if that was a better team or if that was a team that had more respect from football fans that was doing it. I think that if this was Tom Brady's a polarizing figure, but who's someone who everybody loves in football? Like everybody loves Gronk. That's a sitcom if I've ever heard one. If Gronk were to do this, which I don't think Gronk's intelligent enough. Not that I think Colin Kaepernick is super intelligent, but I don't think Gronk is intelligent enough to have cognitive thoughts like this. If Gronk were to do something like this, I don't think people would have a gigantic problem with it. If who's another super beloved guy in the NFL? Come on, someone help me out here. Who's another really beloved guy everybody likes?
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, or Peyton Manning, or one of these guys. If one of these guys had come out and done this, I don't think it gets as much flack as Colin Kaepernick. What do you think about that, Dom?
No,
fuck Russell Wilson, Rock Soldier.
Everybody here hates Russell Wilson. Anyhow, I think that I'm going. Man, this is fucking boring because I agree with all you guys. I think it's he has the. I would not I think he's a piece of shit for doing it. But I think he has the legal and moral. I have the legal and moral obligation to, support his right to do so, or else our system just doesn't work. But I don't really. I think that the polarization comes from not only the fact that police tensions and just racial relations in general have been aggravated recently. I think. And so people already have it on the mind, and they're already looking for something to direct their hatred at about it, especially from a medium that they might enjoy, like football. But I think that a lot of it does have to do with the personality of Colin Kaepernick as well, because he is an asshole, and people like to, and people like to cause controversy around him.
So look, every once in a while, there's going to be guys that do this kind of thing in the league. They're going to take a social stance. It happens. We see it happen from time to time, and it's something that will always continue to happen because people have opinions on things. My personal stance is, I think, we don't need to get into the specifics of what his politics were and why I don't agree with a lot of the things that he's saying. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is he's trying to draw attention to something. I think he's going about it the wrong way, and maybe there's a little bit of naivety to not realize, this whole thing feels a little bit like it's playing out the same way the Gabby Douglas thing did when she didn't put her hand over her heart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but do you think that he's trying to draw attention to himself, or do you think he's trying to positively draw attention to his cause, or to the politics, or whatever word you want to use, to whatever ideal it is he's trying to promote? Do you think he's trying to draw attention to that, or do you think he's just trying to draw attention to himself
no,
and
no,
trying to generate sympathy?
He
no.
might
I
be
think
pulling a Ryan Lochte and just doing something to garner controversy,
nah.
honestly.
I think he's legit in his conviction.
Conviction, that's the
I
word.
think
Yeah.
he needs to do a little bit more research into why he has the conviction he does and how accurate some of the things he believes are. But I'm not. I don't want to get into that on this show.
Right.
I just think that there was some naivety. I think he thought I'm making a good stand. I'm showing. I can't tolerate this. The problem is he's injuring the wrong people. The people that he cares to offend with this aren't the people that he ended up offending, and I think that's where a lot of the bumpiness in the road is coming from.
We'll close on this. There is a large. I mean, we're talking about social media. There's really no way to judge it completely accurately, but there's a very vocal part of the San Francisco 49ers fan base, and in fact football fans in general, who are calling for the 49ers to do something about it, whether it be suspend him or anything like that. Personally, I can't support that. Again, I don't like what the guy. It's the old Ku Klux Klan thing. I hate what they stand for. I find them vile, disgusting people. If they all die tomorrow, I think the world will be a better place. And what they say is horrific, but I will stand up and defend their right to say these horrific things that they say. I cannot support a movement to suspend or to damage his career because he has taken a political stance and has chosen not to do something that at the end of the day is completely optional.
I agree, and here's why: because it's not affecting what's happening on the field. Will I ever look at Colin Kaepernick the same way? No, I think the guy proved to me that he's a dick. But no, you're absolutely right. There's no reason he should be going anywhere on the field. He should be out there playing football because that's what he's being paid to do. And the comments that he made are not going to affect anything that happens on the field, except maybe Navarro Bowman trying to take his head off. But they're not going to really affect what's going on the field. So,
Dom, final word.
Screw this and play.
Well, it's really boring because I agree with you guys, but, Donald Trump might have some different stuff to say about it.
Oh, save it for we're gonna save that for this upcoming Sunday. We're gonna get some sit down time with Donald Trump, and we're gonna work that up. Anyways, guys, this was a whole lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. I'm sure John and Don did too. We're going to be back. Things going on this Saturday. John, we have our fantasy draft for our league. Some guys who aren't usually on the show are going to be involved in it. I don't know if they'll be on camera or not, but it's should be a fun time. Maybe enjoy watching us dick around and have a few drinks and talk about who we're choosing and make fun of all of Dom's picks. What time on Saturday does the stream start, John?
Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern.
5 p.m. Eastern time, so that is 4 p.m. for me. Oh my God, I just doxed myself. Everybody knows that I live in the Central Time Zone now. And then after that, we will have an upload on Sunday. We don't think we're going to be doing a full show, a full recorded hour and a half long show. We're probably going to do another RTP OT. Just some things that'll come up throughout the week. Maybe we'll go into maybe we'll get Dom a little bit more into Dak Prescott, and we'll dive into that a little bit deeper. But for all the guys, everyone out there who is watching this with us live in the chat, everyone who will see this later on, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. We do this for you guys. It's labor of love, and we'll catch you on next time.
By the fans, for the fans, baby.